Hi, everybody. This is Bill Denke from Elite Engineering Services. Hopefully, you guys can hear me and everything is up and running. Sorry for the slight delay. Just a quick introduction of Elite Engineering Services before we kick things off. We are a PTC partner and part of the Elite Aerospace Group. We service PTC products including MathCad, Creo, Windchill, as well as IoT and the AR products that PTC provides. One of our kind of strategic advantages as a partner of PTC's is that we are a partner with PTC, but we're also a user of PTC products. We are an aerospace supplier, build-to-print house, as well as an engineering services company, which allows us to get a unique perspective on the PTC products and apply those to our customers. Kind of with that overview, I'll kind of turn it over to Stuart Weiler, who will take it from there and introduce Colleen, who will be giving the MathCad demonstration.
All right, thank you, Bill. Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I will stop sharing my screen, and Colleen, I will make you the presenter to go ahead and tell us about MathCad.
All right, so hello, my name is Colleen Garrigan. I'm with PTC. I'm a software engineer with their Virtual Center of Excellence, and we basically give demos for anyone who wants to get a closer look at anything, any software they're looking to buy. So today I'm going to talk about PTC MathCad Prime, and what Prime is it's different from the regular MathCad because it's made for newer versions of software like Windows 10 or anything like that. It's been updated. It's more modern. So PTC MathCad Prime is a digital engineering notebook to perform calculations and document your design intent. It's basically a software for documenting the engineering process. So today I would like to walk you through some slides, and they'll seem like a lot, but we're going to break them up with a demo in the middle. So look forward to that. So we're going to start off with some challenges we see a lot of customers have. So there's a variety of ways to create your design intent in your calculations. So it ends up being scattered across software and through your resources, through people. You could document your design intent just through an email. You could do it in Excel. You could do it on a Word doc or just on pen and paper. So what ends up happening is that there's not a lot of sharing between people, between projects of all this hard work you put into. And then you can't reuse it for anyone in the future. They'll have to start from scratch, and meanwhile, they could have saved a lot of time by building off of something that your company has already done. Also, the traditional ways of documenting make it very hard to catch errors. And an example of this is in 1999, NASA set up a robot to Mars to go ahead and document the weather on Mars. It made it all the way there to just crash into the atmosphere and burn up. So it was a $122 million experiment gone wrong. And what happened was that they got calculations in software from a vendor who used different units than NASA. And NASA never converted the units over to what they use. So it wasn't able to move correctly, and it just crashed and burned up in the atmosphere. So a lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted money on a simple, easy problem like a conversion error unit mistake, which could easily be fixed. So what PTC MathCad Prime does is it analyzes, solves, documents, and shares not only your design intent, but your calculations, your whole engineering process. So just to reiterate, PTC MathCad Prime is a digital engineering notebook to perform your calculations and to document your design intent. And it's not only a document, you can also put in all your calculations, you can put in drawings, you can put in plots, you can do a lot of different things with PTC MathCad Prime, and you're doing it without learning a whole new computer language or any coding. You're doing it just with a nice math notation. It looks just like it would on pen and paper. It's just doing it a lot neater than anything I could ever put out. So So it's a notebook, and it has all these things in it, but it also has that powerful mathematical engine to back it up to solve whatever equation you're going to throw at it. So we'll dive a little deeper into some of the more specific capabilities of MathCad Prime. So like we already said, it's a nice whiteboard interface. You start off with a clean slate, and you're just going to type in whatever you want it to do. You can set variables just by typing x equals, and then you'll have a variable set. And then you can solve something by just typing x plus y equals. And it's going to solve for you. You're not coding. You're not teaching it how to do anything. And it's going to combine everything you need to have like a start to end process of how your product got to your final state. You can combine any math. You can combine text explaining what this math means. You can put in graphics, drawings. You can visualize your data by putting in plots. It's going to have all that together so you can read and really understand the whole story behind your engineering process. And you won't have a Mars NASA robot mistake because MathCad can manage your units automatically. So you can go ahead and add together inches, feet, yard, miles, and it's going to convert all of those and add them together correctly in the same unit. And it's also self-documenting. And what that means is that you can start off a MathCad page starting out as like scrap paper. You know, you're just trying to figure out what's the best dimension for something. But then you'll have a document that can turn into your final document. Just add in whatever drawings, whatever plots you need as your final document, and then you'll have it. So it's your scrap paper that turns into your final paper. You don't have to do two separate things. So some more things about MathCad is it's WYSIWYG, which just means what you see is what you get. So what you see on your computer screen, when you print it out, it's going to look exactly the same. You're not going to have to convert it into some other file format. It's going to print out exactly how you want it to look. There's also a huge library of functions MathCad can do for you. So you're not teaching, you're not programming MathCad how to do any of that calculus or statistics or data analysis. It has those functions pre-built into it. You just find it in the library and pull it up, and then you can use it straight from there. You're not teaching it how to do anything. And again, there's lots of ways to visualize the data that you're plugging into MathCad. You can make XY plots, polar plots, contour plots, and even 3D plots. And all of these plots are live. They're not a picture of a plot that it just formulated. It's a live plot that you can go ahead and put vertical and horizontal markers on. You can change the range. You can change the units. You know, it's editable in its form. It's not a picture. And another huge benefit of MathCad is that it is completely integrated with Creo Parametric. And what that means is that you can open up MathCad straight from Creo. And not only is it connected, but it also communicates. So you can send dimensions and parameters from Creo, your 3D model, into MathCad, do some work on it, and then send out a different dimension back into Creo to go ahead and use. So you're really documenting your design intent by explaining whatever's happening in your MathCad, and then you're really driving that analysis by having your 3D CAD model and your engineering notebook communicate with each other, sending units back and forth, making sure everything is up to date and with the newest version. Another thing you can use this communication for is to verify and validate your design intent in whatever choices you're making while you're designing it. So you can go ahead and bring in some dimensions or some parameters, bring it into MathCad and check right there if it's going to meet your design requirements. You won't have to wait till the end of the design process to go ahead and check to see if your design even works for your requirements. You can check right there, pull it in, see if you need to change that immediately. All right, so the break I promised you, a little show off with a demo. Just give me 1 second here. So here is what MathCad looks like. Again, you have that whiteboard sort of in the background, and you do see it has that grid layout. That is optional. We can turn it off and on. So I'll go ahead and pull up a worksheet that we already have built out a little bit. So you see here that we have some text, just like in the heading page, the title page. And the format almost looks like a Word doc. You know, it looks very familiar, something like you've already seen. So you can go ahead and make any of those changes, make it look how you want it to for clarity, or maybe you have company standards. You can go ahead and change anything you want with the text very easily. Again, this grid, you can turn it off or on. You can leave it on to make it look more like an engineering notebook, or if you want just a white space in the background, just leave it as white. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our document process. So say you have an image already made. You can reuse it, bring it into MathCad. You don't have to start off from scratch. MathCad has a lot of options for importing and exporting things. So we'll start by just importing a picture here. So we're going to have a picture on one side here, and then we can go ahead and define our variables on the other side. So it'll all be right next to each other, easily understand what the person who wrote it is trying to do. So we'll go ahead and define our B and D from our image, and then once they're defined, you can do any calculations with it for the rest of the sheet. So we'll go ahead and do a calculation with them now. But let's say we accidentally type H instead of D, and we'll see how MathCad deals with it and how it can help you catch any of those errors. So you go ahead and ask MathCad, what's I? You just type I equals, and then it pulls it up for you. And you see here that it pulled up I with all of these units on it, and you know that you didn't put any units yet. So you know that somewhere something needs to be double checked. So you can go back to what I actually is, and then ask MathCad, oh, what is H? What did I accidentally put in here? And then you'll see and maybe remember, oh, this is Planck's constant, which is something that MathCad has built into it. But anyway, you'll realize that, hey, this isn't what I wanted to put in here. I wanted D, the variable that I defined and that's in my image. Change it to D, and MathCad will automatically update any calculations you did when you change that. It'll automatically update I for you. To discuss a little bit more about units, you see here we can plug units into our variables, and then again, the calculation will update automatically for you. And MathCad has default units it puts out in. So here you see meters as its default. And if I want to change that to centimeters, I'm just going to change that M to a cm, and it's going to update automatically for me. Great. Again, MathCad will stop you from making any errors with units. So you can go ahead and add B and something in seconds. So we have B in centimeters, and then seconds, and MathCad will tell you these units aren't compatible. You may need to double check what you're trying to do here. So it won't let you make that Mars robot mistake. It'll convert for you or tell you they're not compatible. So again, we talked about the import and export capabilities of MathCad. So you have data probably in Excel spreadsheets or anything else like that. So you can go ahead and import Excel, but what it's going to do is it's going to pull live from that Excel sheet. So if you make any updates in your Excel, you can reevaluate in MathCad, and it's going to update for you. So you just select the columns and rows you want to bring in, and it's going to pull it up and read live from that Excel sheet. So you can set it equal to a variable. You can pull out values and do calculations with them. So we'll go ahead and ask MathCad, hey, what actually is data? What actually am I bringing in here? You can realize, oops, I meant to bring in one column lower than that. You can go ahead and change that. Row lower than that, excuse me. So you can go ahead and reevaluate, and again, it's pulling live from that Excel and updating for you. So you can go ahead and do a calculation with those values you bring in from Excel. Just tell MathCad which value you're trying to bring in and say what you want to do. Say you want to see one of those values in gigapascals, and it can go ahead and do that for you. Great. So again, we have a drawing on one side, and we're going to go ahead and define our variables on the other. Makes it very easy to read. You're, again, combining these drawings, math, variables, text, all right together, really describing your engineering process to whoever needs to see it next so they can go ahead and reuse whatever they need, saving your company time and effort. So again, once we define these variables, we can use them anywhere else below them in the document. But again, here we have the Excel being brought in, we have images being brought in. It's just a large combination of everything all together on one easy readable sheet. So here we have a function defined, and we have the variables we put in above being used in our equation. So we're just going to evaluate the function using L over 2 instead of X, and that quickly MathCad is going to go ahead and evaluate for us. So those variables we defined above are being pulled down into the next page, being easily solved out for us. Easy to change the units. If you wanted in millimeters to have more sig figs there, you can go ahead and do that instead of meters. So what this page kind of lays out for us is that you can have a derivation that you really don't want to be a part of the final flow of the document in a hidden area. So there's an area, you can make areas that are collapsible so you can't see them, they won't be a part of the main flow. So you could have just behind the scenes math that if anyone wanted to go and do a little deeper dive into what is actually happening in your workbook, they could go ahead and open this up and see it. But you can just collapse it so it won't be part of your final document unless someone really wants to go in and look at it. So there are plenty of ways to visualize any data that you make in MathCad. So here are just some normal, regular XY plots. And we'll show you with this one that you can format your plot to look however you want. Again, with the text, it's easy. You're just using the ribbon, familiar, interface here for you to go ahead and click, change it, make it look however you would like. So go ahead and give it a different color and a different thickness, just to show. And you can do this with your standards or with company standards. And we talked about how these plots are live. You can make markers, you can make changes, change the range. It's not a picture of a plot, it's a live plot that's being pulled in from that data. So you can go ahead and do that vertical marker there and tell it what X value you want it to be at. It can go ahead and point out that value for you. So here we get a little more complicated, and we're finding how the maximum deflection changes as the load and load position varies. So we have a little program built out here for it to find, and you can make a contour plot with it, or you can make a 3D plot with it. So again, lots of different ways to visualize the data you're making. So we're just going to define the axis here. It's going to pull up the 3D plot for us. So again, these plots are live. You can change the range of any of these axes. Just click them up in the corner. So it's really easy to make any of these complicated plots to go ahead and visualize whatever is important to your design process. You can drag these around. You can add in a surface fill, give it a little color, pop it out a bit. So you can rotate it around, view it from different angles, move it around. It's all live, all able for you to change it however you like. If you really want to take a really close look at something, interrogate that spot, you can zoom in. Okay, and then MathCad is fully integrated with Creo. Again, we talked about how a lot of companies don't have one source to keep their design intent in their calculations. It could be from anywhere to emails or Excel sheets. So what MathCad really allows you to do is to keep all this documentation, all this important intellectual property in one place, so it's not going to get lost over time. It's fully connected with your CAD. It's all going to be in one spot, so it's much harder to lose. You have to be trying to lose it. So we'll go ahead and fill out our MathCad sheet here a bit. So say you have a couple units, a couple dimensions in Creo that you want to bring into MathCad. We're going to go ahead and pull in the piston diameter and the crankshaft radius from our 3D model. And all we have to do is set a relationship between MathCad and Creo for these two dimensions. And once we set that relationship, they're going to keep up to date with each other. MathCad is going to send us a notification saying, hey, I'm out of date. Please update me so I can be connected with my 3D CAD and my Creo here. So once we set those relationships, we'll go ahead and look for that notification telling us we need to update. So that's really important because changes could be made at any point. So here's the notification here saying our MathCad is outdated. So we should go ahead and update it. So we'll update it, and we see that they brought in those dimensions from Creo into my MathCad. There won't be any confusion. There won't be any hand typing, carrying it over, just asking to make a mistake. It's going to be updated all the time, and it'll let us know if it's not updated for us to go ahead and update it. So another thing you can do with bringing values in from Creo into MathCad is you can verify and validate that your design is within the requirements that you set your design to be in. So you're not waiting down the line to make sure your design is okay. So you can find, maybe say you have a compression ratio with that your design needs to be with it, and you can go ahead and make sure it fits that. Do the same with all of these. So again, there's no question if a number was typed wrong. It's bringing in those values straight from CAD, straight from your Creo, and updating continuously. So it's not just a one-way street here. We can also send values from MathCAD into Creo. So we'll set up some new relationships to send in the piston head cap diameter and spherical depth here. So we'll go ahead and send those back into the CAD. So say we brought in some dimensions, found some new dimensions and what their optimal length would be. So we can go ahead and set that relationship and bring them in. And CAD Creo here is also going to let us know that it's out of date and that it needs to be regenerated. So here is the message saying, hey, MathCAD is updated and I'm not. Can you please update me? So you can regenerate it, and then it'll be the same thing as your MathCAD. It'll be all updated. So that's the demo I had prepared today. So I'm going to move us back into slides, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the updates that PTC has made for MathCad Prime 4.0. So the main thing that these updates have done is that they've made it easier to show, solve, and secure your engineering calculations. So a couple of the main areas have been that there are now major performance enhancements, both with how you document and how you can plot. Sorry about that, how you can plot any of your data. You can protect areas either by locking or just making them not being able to edit. You can make MathCAD an OLE container, which just means you can embed drawings straight into MathCAD. So you can go ahead and make a drawing and edit it there. We'll dive into that a little bit here in a second. And you can reuse MathCAD more by pasting sections of MathCAD straight into Microsoft Word. Copy, paste, the format will be the same. We've also enhanced the readability by including equation breaks. And then MathCAD 4.0 is now certified to run on Windows 10, and it fixes critical bugs. So a little bit more about the performance enhancements is that you can add or remove white space to readability. Moving regions has become easier, so you can change the order that makes the most sense for your product much easier. You can switch to draft mode, which makes it easier to see your whole document without having the distractions of the header or footers. We've also increased the amount of points you can have on a plot by 4 times. We can do 2 million instead of 500,000 with MathCAD 4.0, which gives you the capability to analyze a larger volume of data. So MathCAD 4.0, Prime 4.0 also gives you the capability to have secure regions to protect your IP, your intellectual property. So you can protect areas from being editable, but you can still have them viewable. So you can make a password if you want in order to edit it, or just leave that as no password needed. And then a step further than that is that you can protect areas from being able to view. So you can lock them, collapse them, and then no one can look at them. If you have some sensitive material that you really wouldn't like anyone to see except for the person making the document, you can go ahead and do that. Lock the area, and no one will be able to see it besides them. So it's really making your calculations more secure. MathCad 4.0 also made it easier to show any of your documentation by creating and embedding drawings in MathCad. So you can go ahead and link a drawing to your MathCad by pulling in a file that you already made or starting from scratch. You can embed a Visio file or just a Microsoft Paint inside your Excel and then double click on it. It'll pop up for you to edit right there. So you won't have to go in and find your drawing file. You can double click and pull it right out of MathCad. So MathCad made it easier to show again by you can copy and paste large sections of MathCad into Microsoft Word. So you can reuse your MathCad even more by being able to pull it in something easy. If you have other reports you need to send to different people that you use Word for, you can go ahead and copy paste into there. And you can keep the source formatting, so it'll look the exact same as it did on your MathCad worksheet in that Microsoft Word file. So they also made it easier to show because the equations won't spill off the side of the page. You can go ahead and add in those equation breaks and send them down to the next line. So the equation break is now an operator, the same as like a division or plus or minus sign. You can go ahead and add in an equation break with those. So we're going to end with just some value slides talking about why MathCad is important, you know, what it can actually do for you. So it's going to prevent that loss of IP, the intellectual property, and improve your knowledge capture because your design intent and calculations won't be scattered through email, Excel, pen and paper. It's all going to be in one spot. It can be connected to your CAD, so it won't be lost over time when resources change or through projects. It's going to help you make better engineering decisions and better products because you're doing analysis-driven design. You're constantly pulling in dimensions and parameters from your 3D CAD and making sure it's fitting what you need it to fit. And then it's going to improve that product quality because there won't be any errors like there were with the Mars robot with units or anything like that. It's going to convert the units for you or tell you when it can't. So MathCad is going to help you get to market faster because it's a system that will write out those equations for you. You're not doing it by hand. It's going to make sure everything is there. It's going to make sure it's correct. You're not writing out numbers by hand where a mistake could be made, or you're not writing them in a tiny cell in Excel where you can't even see what you're doing. And then it's also going to help improve compliance because you're going to have that document, that final document that you can share off to anyone who needs to see it. All right, great. So that was the slides and the demo I had to show you today. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Stuart again to see if there's any questions or anything.
All right, thank you very much, Colleen. Actually, would you mind opening up your worksheet one more time?
Okay.
We did have a question specifically about the worksheet, so I figured it would be easier if you have it open. The question was, I believe it was in the first section of the worksheet, someone was asking about the reference for data 2.1, if you could show that.
Okay. Could you just repeat again the reference?
2.1. I believe it's on the first sheet.
Yeah, so I'm looking.
While she's opening it, if anyone has any other questions, please go ahead and just put them in the chat section, and we will do our best to address them. Colleen, at the moment, we're just seeing your background, actually.
Okay. Oh, section 2.1. Okay, okay. Hold on 2 seconds. Okay, what can I answer for you here? I might have to pull up something else to do this here.
Yeah, I think it was further up in the worksheet because the question came in earlier. I believe there's a reference to it, data 2.1. I think it was in around section 1.
Okay.
While Colleen is
Is there
looking for that,
anything
I'll try
particular in that? Sorry, this is going to take a moment, but is there anything particular in that I could answer? Like, what's the further part of the question? Is it the Excel reading?
Well, I think the question is just where is the reference coming from? So there was a field that says, yeah, you see E equals data 2, 1. I think the question is, what is that referencing from?
Okay, right. So that's a column 2, row 1. So that's the 30 we see here. This right here, it's pulling in from that. So that's literally bringing in that data straight from Excel. It's reading it live. So you can go ahead and put in that whole matrix in from Excel, and then that's just telling MathCad what value in that matrix you want. So that's just matrix notation in Excel. In MathCad, bringing it in from Excel. Does that answer? I hope that answers the question.
I hope so too. I believe it does.
Okay.
All right. The next question was, I'm using MathCad 15 currently. I'd like to transfer to MathCad Prime. Will my MathCad 15 files be compatible with MathCad Prime? The short answer is yes. You actually have to convert them. The files don't wind up getting changed, but when you open up MathCad Prime, it'll convert to a MathCad Prime file that will work for you. So even though technically it's a conversion because it's creating a new file, your MathCad 15 files will work. The next question, as a 10-year MathCAD user, it is more than 1 year, there is no update in MathCAD Prime after 4.1. The answer is actually MathCAD 5.0, I believe, is going to be released very shortly. Colleen, do you know any specifics about that?
Yes, I actually think that it's going to be released before LiveWorks. I'm not sure of the exact date, but I think the plan is to get it out before LiveWorks, as you know, to kind of showcase it there, which is LiveWorks is June 17th, so hopefully before June 17th this year. So just in a month, about.
All right, thank you. Actually, it looks like I'm getting some feedback from people that it's better to start from scratch in creating a MathCAD Prime file as opposed to convert. So that point might be a little bit of a point of contention. I apologize. Okay, and one last question. I personally don't know the answer to this one. Colleen, maybe you can help. Is there any plan to add controls, such as support VB script in MathCAD Prime?
What was that again? Support BB script? Yeah,
adding additional controls. I'm not sure if that's a feature of 5.0 or not. I have not personally heard of anything about that.
So I have not either, but that's something I could definitely see if I can find out and send it over to Stuart.
Oh, actually, I'm being told that this was a feature in MathCAD 15. And that is one of the final question I think we have here. There's a lot of options in MathCAD 15, which there still is not in Prime. And I believe that is actually feedback that PTC has received, and that is hopefully what they've been adding to 5.0. Once we have MathCAD 5.0 available, we'll be able to tell you a bit more about it. All right, I don't see any other questions, so I will just show one last thing. And I just want to show the upcoming webinars that Elite is going to be hosting. So hopefully you can now see my screen, and on our website, on the page for webinars, under events, you can see all of the upcoming webinars. The very next one that we'll be doing in 2 weeks is Creo flow analysis. You can see that if you click on the register page, you can see details about the webinar, and you'll be able to register for it. The additional webinars should be able to register for in the very near future, so please feel free to keep checking on our website, and you'll see those updates. So thank you, everyone, for joining today. I'll send out the links to the future webinars so that you can sign up if you're interested. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.
Thank you.